Welcome to This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy, the podcast where musicians talk about the mental stuff that everyone deals with, usually while pretending they're fine on stage. Full disclosure, they're not therapists, just musicians who've definitely needed one. So settle in, laugh with us, learn with us, and if you're trying to figure out this whole being a musician with feelings thing, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. My name is Rich Davidson. I'm one of your hosts, and over there we have Eric Forbes. He's also a host, and also Craig Hendry. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Great.
Craig, did you notice that he pronounced the D there?
I got the D.
Got to get the D.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to that comment.
How very dare you?
So guys, we've got a really exciting show tonight. We've got a guest, Sam Damon. Now Sam is an incredibly talented musician, somebody that we played with back in Raleigh, and he's moved on to Dallas. He's plays multiple instruments, fantastic singer, and as they say in the UK, he is a smashing chap. So let's give it up for Sam Damon, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Woo. Love you, Sam. Woo.
Thanks for the applause. Oh my God.
Sam, what's going on, man?
Just having a ripper of a day over here, as it were.
Nice. Context.
I don't think Craig knows what you're talking about because he doesn't listen to the podcast.
I did my research.
I appreciate it. That means a lot to me. But it's pronounced Ripper.
Ripper. Well, I felt it would be disingenuous if I put on the accent. I feel like it would be more authentic coming through my American mouth.
It's funny because
yes, that would have been
no, go ahead.
offensive. So,
Craig, did you get that video that I sent you today?
I haven't looked at it yet. I've had a ridiculously crazy day.
This
You
guy,
got a ripper?
It's this comedian that does like different things, but what the thing is being Australian in the US in 2025, and then it's just him telling a group of people he's Australian, and everyone goes, "Oi no." It was right in his face. He was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I left for work this afternoon, and my wife sent me a message to have a ripper of a day. So I thought that was.
I mean, that's a cool phrase right there.
Yeah.
I was doing a gig last night, and somebody requested Jesse's Girl, and I did my usual, hey, can anyone tell me where Rick Springfield is from? Someone yells out, General Hospital.
Well, they weren't wrong.
Okay.
How was the theater gig?
It was really cool old theater, about 100 years old. That's now hybrid, like movies on the weekend and live music during the week. It was really cool.
Where'd you play at?
I was in Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh, Roanoke. Okay. Were you playing with somebody, or was it a solo gig?
Yeah, it was a dueling gig. Gig. Yep.
Cool.
On a stage, it was. I don't think I've ever done dueling on a stage with a paid ticketed crowd and lights and sound and everything. But it worked. It was fun.
Yeah, cool.
Well, when they pay for it, then they're kind of forced to like it, so they have to get into it, right?
Yeah, they don't have a choice. That's right.
Because yeah, we'll just move on. So Eric, what do you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you guys will get to know Sam a bit more during this episode, but he and I were talking, and just about, the gig and stuff, and he plays at a really popular dueling piano bar chain. I think they're mostly in Texas, but there's a few outside of Texas, right, Sam? There's one in Chicago.
Yeah, yes, sir. There's one in Chicago. There's one in Nashville. It's of the same name.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same management, so I don't know if it kind of counts, but the players do play there. So, but I would say 100% for sure they the majority of the bars in Texas. They got one that I play at that is in Frisco, but that's like the Dallas area. They have one in Fort Worth, and then they have one in Houston, one in Austin as well. And then they have one in Rosemount. So it's like Chicago.
Yeah. I've been to the one in Austin.
Isn't that did John? No, he was playing it someplace by Wrigley Field, wasn't he?
Chiefs
Sluggers
or something.
Sluggers. The Chiefs is in
Chiefs is in Nashville. Is in Nashville. Yes.
Yeah, because I know I didn't know that Pete's had one in Illinois, and for whatever reason I was thinking John played there, but he played someplace by Wrigley Field.
Yeah, Sluggers is like the place. It's like the place, Craig, that is across from where the Braves play. This place is right across from where the Cubs play at Wrigley Field, and they get the big baseball crowds and stuff during the season. But anyway, yeah, and so we were talking about, I guess a thing they talk about at Pete's or say at Pete's about, the difference between entertaining a hot crowd and a cold crowd. And so, I guess this topic is pretty specific to music.
Well, it's kind of what we do as well. So,
but yeah, it I don't know. It's an interesting concept that I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on, because there's, we've experienced plenty of both. Crowds that are just ready to go, and really all you have to do is sit down and play, Brown Eyed Girl and tell them to sing the shalalas, and you're good to go. But 3 hours and then you're good. But, some crowds you have to really work towards. And then there's some crowds that I would argue just would never come around, no matter what you do, really. I don't know. So, yeah, just was, that was the idea that I would love to hear some thoughts on.
Well, there's a plethora of good ideas that I've kind of been exposed to ever since starting to play at Pete's. And so there will be some other ideas that I'm sure will come up while exploring this concept that I guess I'll touch on as it goes. It's obviously going to be things that you guys either do knowingly or do intuitively, and it's kind of just putting words to the things that we already naturally do, But yeah, the whole idea, obviously, if the crowd's warm and they're going to respond to anybody, even a mediocre performer. As long as they're getting up and showing some sort of energy, a crowd is going to respond to that. But it's like, what do you do with the cold crowds while not pushing them too hard? Because we all know if you're throttling a crowd too hard or asking them to sing too much and they're not singing, there's another important concept, I guess, that's taught, which is don't let them see you fail. And so that is essentially if I'm trying to get a sing-along, because there's not really a sing-along, I want to make the entry level super easy. John, as you guys, I'll name drop John Moore. He does a great job of this with his Darlin'. He gives you only have to say one word and he gives you the answer. And then there's kind of the added social pressure of him calling you out in the room. So he gets that easy success early on. But when you're kind of swinging for the hills and telling people, sing along, and they don't repeatedly, it doesn't entice them more to sing along. It doesn't force them more to sing along. It just makes it an uncomfortable experience for everybody involved. So I know I'm kind of speaking in broad terms, but we don't exactly have a specific scenario that's going on right now. But those are the kind of concepts of not letting them see you fail. If one time you toss it out and they don't sing along there, don't do that again. Kind of take that into a mental map. The easiest thing you can get them to do is clap along. So get them to clap, But I know I'm speaking broad terms. I don't know how to get any more specific than that. If anybody has something to jump on or add to. But that's, I don't know. That's the kind of the long and the short of the idea is that there's different skills required. And also, I'm sure we all have different bits, because there's a room bit that works with, if you're going to do a conga line, you're not going to do a conga line on a Wednesday when there's 8 people. You know,
Right.
so if your bag of tricks is only I know how to entertain a very large crowd, when you're in front of front of 8 people and your whole shtick is like, how we doing? You know, whatever town you're in, Dallas, Texas, how we do? You can't do that to 8 people.
Well, you can.
What's
you
your?
I'm not saying that I'm not saying we should strive to be playing for 8 people. Like that's not what I'm saying. That's obviously not an ideal show. But I mean, the reality, like the club that I play is 4 nights a week, and on Wednesdays, not every single Wednesday, believe it or not, when a bar opens at a dueling piano bar opens at 8:00. There's not hundreds of people screaming on a Wednesday ready for you to start. They do very well on their Fridays and Saturdays. It's generally sold out at the start of the show, and people are hot from the start because they kind of get the gist. So I'm not knocking on the place, but I'm saying you do need to have the skills required to entertain crowds anywhere from a handful of people, and that's a different skill set to entertaining a crowd that's like 100 or less. You know, it's still kind of more energy, but you can't do some of the bigger bits that you could. There's like levels to it. Yeah, I'm sure you guys understand as well.
I wonder about this, and I don't want to get too far afield from it, but how do you think? We're talking about, you know, kind of a more interactive show, but do you think some of those concepts work? Let's just say for a band that's playing a set list. And maybe they just go up and the crowd just isn't into it. Because I've seen that before. You know, I've been to shows where, for whatever reason, the crowd was just dead. But they're playing a set list. So do you think some of that stuff clearly I know it's a little different because you're talking about an interactive show. But do you think some of those things correlate to a band just playing the same set list night after night?
I think so, yes. I mean, I had some experience, I mean, albeit it was playing at, you know, dive bar bands and the polka ballroom circuit, and then some like festivals and local, you know, like parades and stuff and private parties. So maybe I don't have like the extensive experience, with a band entertaining bar crowds, but I do feel like some of that definitely reading the room is a great thing. If you have, let's say you have a low-key crowd that you're playing for at a brunch on a Sunday, and you're probably not going to pull out Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills.
Well, maybe
so maybe song selection, but outside of song selection, I mean, if you're doing how much crowd work are these groups necessarily doing? You know what I mean?
That's
if they're
true.
not outside of changing your set list, you know, obviously, if you're doing crowd work, if you say, how are we doing tonight? And they don't say shit, or they don't say, I mean, I don't know if I can cuss, but if they don't say anything, I would probably ease up on it just for the sake of optics of the band. The whole concept of not letting them see you fail. If you got to go song to song, I've done that, many a night when I was playing in polka bands. People are there to dance. They're not there to clap and not there to watch you and not there to be into your songs. They're there to dance and they're there to drink and talk with a friend. So many a night I've played for 4 walls. Nobody really seems to care that you're playing. And that's, but sometimes those are some of the funnest nights, because if the crowd isn't into it, then you kind of can play for yourselves as musicians. There's always fun to be had, even if, even if it's not going to happen with the crowd. But you do need to know, in my opinion, when to cut your losses. You're not giving up on the crowd, but you're not going to continue to force it down their throats, because I know, putting myself in, I know I'm talking a lot. I hope I'm not talking too much for you guys.
No. You're the guest.
I try to put myself into the audience's shoes. I'm not the kind of person that if I were to go out and see a band, that I would be up in the front, woo, and singing every single lyric to their song and doing whatever. I wouldn't do that. I'm the weird guy who sits in the corner and is like watching all the intricate music stuff that's happening. So if I'm that kind of person in the audience, when I'm playing on stage and I see a guy in the corner who has a blank expression and is just staring at the stage, I'd kind of be disingenuous to myself to automatically assume, oh, he doesn't like it. Well, because that's exactly what I look like when I am absolutely loving what the band is playing.
Yeah.
No, actually, I understand it, because I'm kind of like that as well. Matter of fact, I think there was one show where I was kind of up front, and really getting into it. But otherwise, yeah, I'm that guy as well. So I totally get that.
Sam, what's your definition? I like what you said about don't let the audience fail. Maybe you can elaborate on that. Like I was thinking, like I've had times when you try and elicit sing along, you get nothing. You try to get people to clap, you get nothing. You're just not getting that feedback. You're not getting that response. And I guess my question is like, is failing that you don't pursue it further, or that you do pursue it further and it gets worse and worse and worse, if you know what I mean?
I don't know if I said it. So the concept is not letting them see you fail as a performer. So it's not. Yeah. So it's not necessarily them. I mean, it is them failing, quote unquote. But the onus or the responsibility always falls on the performer. It is not their responsibility to carry your show. It is your responsibility to inspire them or influence them or motivate them in whatever way to do it on the show. But yes, I mean, that is obviously you're not going to want to continue to do the same thing over and over. So Craig, I will, the bit that Eric Clapton's cocaine bit with a whole bunch of different names of substances. Yeah. On a very cold Thursday, I had used that bit to open up a crowd. It was a bunch of college kids who didn't care about the crappy, sing-along that we were doing. They wanted to hear a bunch of rap music that nobody wanted to hear on a Thursday. And different tactics were used, a lot of the clap-along, sing-along stuff. And I used that bit to open them up. And it was specifically the college student with pharmaceutical knowledge. That one. That got them, and you get a laugh out of them. So sometimes it's not giving up on them, but it's not continuing to shove it down their throat, because you can see the look on their face. Like, we get it, dude. Clap your hands. We get it, dude. Sing. Like, how many times? Like,
that's right.
Especially when it's the same performer who's like, sing it. And they have the same. Let me hear ya. The same stuff over and over. They get browbeat for it, and the audience, and that's another concept too. Is like that they teach is if they're gonna sing along anyway, don't tell them to. Less is more.
Yeah, interesting.
Like if it's Oasis on Friends in Low Places, you don't have to tell them. Let me hear ya. You guys got it. You don't have to say anything. They're gonna sing Oasis. Yeah. And I've even noticed implementing that into my show, my words now carry more power when I tell them to do something, because I'm not telling them every 2 seconds to do something. Yeah. It's like when your mom tells you to clean your room and you were already going to do it. Yep. Now I don't want to do it anymore, actually.
Yeah, it's so awkward when you try and get someone to clap and then they just looks at you like, God, this again? Like, I have to do this again. No, you don't. You don't have to. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
It's okay.
You don't. But also, and this is just another idea too. Is like sometimes I feel like, especially in the show that we do, the measuring stick for if people are engaging to your show is like sometimes it's like, they're clapping or singing. Like obviously that's an ideal night. I'm not saying at Pete's that's not like what the aim is, but getting too wrapped up into we need them to sing and clap no matter what at the expense of in other words, if it's a small crowd and they don't want to, but they're reluctantly doing it, you're shooting yourself in the foot trying to be like, oh, hey, they're singing along and they're clapping along, and acting like that's a good thing. But really, I mean, they're kind of not happy about it, a little frustrated about it. Maybe it'd be a better time if you eased up on them.
It makes me think about something that I read. I've mentioned this before, and kind of like to get your input on this, especially because we're talking about kind of a more interactive show. But I remember hearing Bono talking about this, and he was like, the best performers understand that they need the crowd more than the crowd needs them. What would you say to that in context with what we're talking about?
100%. The show is, everything that happens on stage, at least at the bar that I play now, the philosophy is not saying that it wasn't before. Not there just really wasn't a philosophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but here
yeah.
it's like the philosophy is everything that happens on stage is to facilitate a good time with the audience. So everything down to the notes that are sung. So like I definitely don't sing anywhere near as many songs that are high that I did at Plus, because Plus, the kind of name of the game was, look at how many songs we know, we'll play any song, was, kind of I guess a bigger, more important thing. And this is more like we will work in requests are still a driving force, but they don't hold the show hostage,
right?
And the high note that I'll sing it on Believe in a Thing Called Love, just because everybody's expecting it, and I sing it on Dream On because everybody's expecting it, and it adds to the show. It doesn't take away from the show, but they're definitely doing too much of one thing. My philosophy now is just doing a lot less. But sorry, your original question, I don't even know how I strayed away from it. Your original question, do we need the audience? Yeah, of course. Sorry, talking in circles, found out where my train of thought was. Yes, everything is about the audience. A good night or a bad night is not dictated on how good the songs were played or anything, judging that way. The kind of measuring stick of if a night was good or if that was a good call is how the audience responds to it, and if they're having a good night.
Yeah.
So now, but I guess for the show to work well, the audience we do need the audience more so than any other group, because it's an interactive show. So the show really is, as much as they want to do, bits don't work on the stage. If I try to do a conga line and you don't want to do a conga line, the show kind of is dead in the water right there. And now me as a performer, I have to find some weird way to pivot out. But the show really doesn't work unless the audience wants it to or participates.
Yeah.
And it's the performer's job to motivate them. That's one part that people miss, is it's not their job to want to do it, because we're asking them to do some pretty ridiculous stuff in a social situation. I understand there's alcohol, but it is kind of on us.
Yeah, each environment is totally different too. I guess that's why this topic has been on my mind, is because I had a long time of pretty much the same type of crowd, same type of vibe, that I had gotten used to. But now, and Craig as well, we're playing. There's a different type of setting, a different type of crowd with each gig, and you have to, kind of read them beforehand. Obviously look at their ages and kind of formulate, the songs that they're gonna know and want to sing, and then each crowd has its own set of needs. Some come really wanting to get into it and participate, and some come looking for a conversation with a friend in a lively place with music. So each crowd is different. So you just gotta approach it, with specific things in mind.
Yeah, and I guess that's right. It's about having enough tools in your toolkit to unlock the specific audience. Like you were saying, Sam, that the cocaine bit that broke the ice, but that's not going to be every night. So you gotta have those options.
But I think, and I say this like it's easy to do, it's not. It couldn't be harder for me, honestly. But I think the one thing you can is a guarantee for some kind of relationship with the crowd, some kind of reaction, is just not being afraid to be silly, to play around, to make fun of things, to be just lighthearted. So so easy for me to just get so tense up there if I because that's a really interesting phrase. I like that. Don't let them see you fail. But the other side of that is, well, if I know that I failed, I have to not wear that on my face, and I have to just move on and keep a light heart about it, and which is hard. It's really hard. So easy to say, but so hard to do for me. So.
Well, I think it's funny too, because you know, and I think Sam, you touched on this a little bit, and I've talked about this many times before, not on the show, but before. I remember, gosh, it was some years ago when we were at the club in Raleigh, and it was a day, Eric, where you and Tony played a gig at a Harley Davidson dealership in the morning.
Oh, I was there
Saturday.
Sam was at the Harley.
Yeah,
I was there too.
No, I know you were there, because it was actually because then they played a wedding, and it was you and John, and I remember that night so clearly, because first of all, the requests were shit. But the crowd was just they were just on fire, and you guys were just killing it. And then Eric, I guess they came in probably about 9 or 10 o'clock or so, and I mean the place was popping, and he came in and it's like, wow, he acknowledged that it was a dynamite crowd. Like, I got to turn it up. I'm like, no, you don't. No, the table has been set. Just sit down at it.
Just sit down and play. Yeah.
He went at it like, okay, I gotta do better. I gotta do more. And it killed the vibe. I mean, it did. It killed it. And I remember that like it happened yesterday. And I was just sitting, and and I guess that kind of goes along with what you were saying, Sam, in terms of, you have, and also what you said, Eric, you have to read the room. If you can't read the room, you're always going to fail.
Hey, you have to be specific in what you give them. Yeah. Cause each crowd is specific, is different. Oh.
And a little bit goes a long way. And I learned that more and more every show I play. I play the saxophone on 1 to 2 songs maximum, no more than 2 songs a night. And I play guitar on about the same 1 to 2 songs. Play bass on maybe 1 song, if 1 song. The most I do is drumming, and that's just because I have to back up my partner. But really, I mean, once you can break the idea, like it's not about me as a performer. You don't come, because nowhere in my mindset ever would it be like, wow, this crowd's on fire. I need to X, Y, Z. I don't need to do anything. The crowd's exactly where they need to be. I just need to do whatever's necessary to keep the crowd where it's at. But if the crowd's already at a 10, are they going to get to an 11 if I just dance around like a chicken with my head cut off? No, they're not.
Yeah. That was well, hard to explain.